All right, let's dive in. Today, we are marching onto the battlefields of the ancient worlds. But, forget the images of clashing swords and massive siege engines for a second. We're here to uncover a totally different kind of weapon, one that was honestly often far more decisive.
So let me ask you, what do you think it was? Was it the biggest army? The sharpest spear? Maybe an impenetrable fortress? Well, ancient rulers knew that while all that stuff was important, their real power, the game-changing kind, lays somewhere else entirely.
Exactly. The most fiercely contested terrain wasn't some patch of dirt, it was the psychological landscape of their own people and even more importantly, of their enemies. They understood with a pretty chilling clarity that controlling perceptions, emotions, and beliefs, well, that was the ultimate key to victory.
Okay, so the first major tool in their arsenal was propaganda. Now you can think of this as the carrot. This wasn't just about, spreading some information around. It was about carefully, methodically constructing a reality to build this unshakable loyalty and a real sense of shared purpose.
So how'd they do it? Well, their toolkit was surprisingly sophisticated. They claimed divine mandates. Think about the Egyptian pharaohs, who were literally seen as living gods on earth. They paid for glorious histories to be written, framing their rule as absolute destiny. They put their faces on everything with royal iconography. We're talking coins, statues, monuments, making their image synonymous with power itself. And they wove it all together with cultural storytelling to create this powerful sense of us.
Yeah, this quote right here really gets to the heart of it. This was basically a branding exercise on an epic scale. By surrounding people with these messages 24/7, rulers made their power feel natural, inevitable. Loyalty wasn't just a duty anymore, it became this sacred obligation.
So propaganda was all about persuading and inspiring your own people. But what if the carrot didn't work on your enemies? Well, ancient rulers had a very, very big stick. And this brings us to the dark, brutal side of psychological warfare, terror.
So let's talk about that stick. Terror wasn't just random cruelty or mindless violence. No, it was a calculated instrument of state policy. Its purpose was brutally simple: to shatter the enemy's will to fight through extreme, overwhelming fear and the constant threat of total annihilation. And the key concept here is the spectacle of violence. Sacking a city, executing captured leaders, that wasn't just about punishment. It was a performance. It was a carefully staged show designed to send a terrifying message to anyone else who might even think about defying them. It was power demonstrated in the most brutal way you can possibly imagine.
For a truly chilling example, you don't have to look any further than the Assyrian Empire. These guys were absolute masters of this. They didn't just commit atrocities, they advertised them. They carved these incredibly detailed pictures of their brutal campaigns onto public monuments for everyone to see. This was basically state-sponsored communication, a marketing campaign for fear. And the message was crystal clear: resist us, and this is your fate.
But terror went so much deeper than just physical violence. The real goal was to systematically destroy an enemy's entire identity, their very sense of self. And the process was methodical. First, you dehumanize them, call them barbarians. Then, you destroy everything they hold dear: their homes, their temples, their culture. And finally, you displace them, severing their connection to their history and their land forever.
So, we've seen the carrot of propaganda and the stick of terror. Now let's look at what they were both aiming for: their shared endgame, the complete and total manipulation of an enemy's morale. Because at the end of the day, a demoralized enemy is an enemy that has already lost. So what do you think happens when you combine that promise of divine glory for your followers with the absolute threat of annihilation for your enemies? You create this incredibly powerful psychological weapon, and it's aimed at one very specific, very fragile target. And that target is morale. Morale is the invisible fuel of any army, of any society. It's their confidence, their belief in their cause, it's their collective will to just keep going. Ancient rulers knew that if you could destroy an enemy's morale, their armies and their walls, they would eventually just crumble on their own.
And attacking morale, well, that was a systematic process. They'd spread rumors of treachery to make soldiers doubt their leaders and each other. They'd disrupt supply lines to create this slow-burning despair. Long sieges weren't just about starving a city. They were designed to induce this constant gnawing dread. And look at that last one. Even an offer of peace, like the Roman Pax Romana, could be a weapon, subtly whispering, "Why keep fighting? It's hopeless." Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this is all fascinating ancient history, but what does it have to do with today? Well, this ancient playbook for the battlefield of the mind is anything but obsolete. In fact, its principles have proven to be scarily timeless.
You can draw a perfectly straight line from the Assyrians carving terror into stone to the Romans spreading their emperor's face on coins to every corner of their empire, all the way to modern psychological operations in the information age. The technology has evolved in ways they couldn't have imagined, but the fundamental strategy of shaping perception, it's startlingly consistent.
And that's really the big takeaway here. Whether it's an ancient emperor with a chisel or a modern state with a server farm, the core objectives are exactly the same. Shape what people believe, control what they fear, and ultimately just break their spirit to resist. Which really leaves us with one final, pretty powerful question to think about. We've gone from stone tablets to social media feeds, from war horns to full-blown information warfare. The tools are unrecognizably different, for sure. But has the game itself, this fundamental contest for the human mind, has it really changed at all?